Hi everyone, it's Carol Hansen, Want Her Outfit, and I'm revitalising my Inspiring Women series of blogs and vlogs at the moment, and I'm delighted to say that I've got somebody that I know as Maria Fernandez, who's actually Chio Fernandez, and she's going to explain that just in a moment. She's a very special lady, and she's a fantastic photographer and an inspiration to others, particularly women. We've worked together on a number of photo shoots for my businesses since we first met in 2015 at a bloggers event. And Maria is someone I'm very proud to call a friend, and I love her passion, her creativity, and her really positive approach to life. So first of all, before we get into the interview per se, Maria, can you tell us about your name?
So when I came to the UK 10 years ago, I used to introduce myself to everyone as Rocío because it's my middle name and how I'm known in Spain.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out very well because people couldn't pronounce it. Some people thought I was a guy instead of a girl. So when I was at university, because all my paperwork was filled in with Maria Rocío, all my teachers called me Maria because it was what was on the lists. And eventually I just thought, maybe it's better if I just introduce myself as Maria to everyone. So I made the switch into Maria. In Spain, people call me Chio because it's my nickname as a short of Rocío, which was my middle name.
Yeah.
And when I started my photography business, I was trying to decide on a name that will be catchy and short and people will remember. Yeah. And I thought Maria was too common and it wouldn't have that effect. Yeah. So I kind of scratched the Maria and went for Chio. Right. That's why some people that met me at the beginnings will know me as Maria, and a lot of people now know me as Chio.
Wow. So not only have you established your career in a different country from your homeland, like many of us on an entrepreneurial journey, you didn't exactly set out on the path you're on now, did you?
No.
Can you share a bit about your journey with us, please?
Well, I used to study civil engineering in Spain, and I wasn't really enjoying it that much, so I decided to take a year abroad, but studying the same degree. So I did like an exchange program, and it took me to Kingston University, south of London.
Right.
And while I was there, I really enjoyed university in the UK. I thought it was completely different to university in Spain, and I realised that you could study photography as a degree in the UK. I was already a photography lover, and it was a big passion. So when I went back to Spain after that year, I said to my parents, I'm not going to carry on doing civil engineering, and I'm applying for university in the UK to do photography and film.
Oh wow. And what was their reaction?
Well, my dad stopped talking to me for 3 months or so. My mum was more supportive, but she was still scared of the decision made. But eventually, right now they're really, really proud of what I've done.
Excellent.
Everything I've built myself. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so photography isn't a degree that you can do in?
It wasn't back then. Okay. It was only you could study photography privately, but it wasn't in public university. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. So were the subjects more serious in public universities?
Yes, they were. There was a one degree that was arts, and within arts there would be modules that were focusing on photography, but you would learn a lot of all the things like painting, sculpture, even performance. So it was all within the arts degree.
Sure. Okay. Wow. So what inspires your photography then?
To kind of take it seriously as a job, or
what inspires you to what motivates you to take photographs generally?
I think for me is capturing a moment that transmits some kind of emotion to people.
Yeah. So, and your photography is very much based around people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or has been, but you're kind of moving and
it's
changing.
Moving towards other things now, but I think the way of describing it is that is more focusing on storytelling, whether it's people or food, which is one of the things that I'm doing right now, and even when I photograph interiors as well. So anything I do is very storytelling, lifestyle vibe. Yeah.
And who do you admire most as a professional photographer?
That's an interesting question, because any time I hear this question being asked to some other people, and they come with an answer very quick, I always think, gosh, I don't think I have one photographer that inspires me or I look up to.
Yeah.
There's many people that I do admire and value the hard work they've done and how they've managed to have their own personal style and how far they've come, and then others that do a lot of good as well that I really value. But I'm really bad with names.
Okay.
And I am, like I said, I don't really have a one that I would always come up with when people ask me. I think with Instagram nowadays, it's very easy to find inspiration in people that don't necessarily are famous or well known. And I think that's what I do right now. I just follow a lot of women, specifically more than men, that inspire me, and not necessarily always either, but with some photos or some stories and I think that's what it should be. It's a combination of a lot of things going on.
Okay. And you said doing good with photography. I mean, photography can be used in so many different ways, but what do you count as being doing good in photography in terms of?
I think probably when you're established photographer and people know your name, we will say that's doing good. Mm-hmm. It's also an interesting question because when I was in the photography show a few months ago, we had a question in a discussion panel that was about what was the moment where you realized you made it. Yeah. I don't think there's such a moment because being a freelancer and working in photography, at one point you could be here doing an amazing job, and then at the other point you can be in the lowest and suddenly you have no jobs coming in. Yeah. So it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done in the past, or how far you've come. Eventually you can come down very quickly as well. Yeah. So there's no such a thing as I've made it now. No. That's it.
Oh, excuse us. We've got a friend in the video today. Maria has got two absolutely beautiful cats, and one of them is determined that she's going to be part of this video today.
Yeah, she wants to be interviewed, I think.
But she doesn't have an awful lot to say for herself. Yes, so you talk about you're a Fuji brand ambassador now, and you're using this amazing opportunity to be a role model for women who are considering a career in photography. Can you tell us something about that, please?
Yes, I was invited to the photography show, which I mentioned earlier, and I was asked to prepare a few talks about photography. And one of them that I'm very passionate about is women in photography, which I think is not talked enough. It's kind of there, but it's not a subject that is discussed often. And my point of view about it was more about it. Photography is a male-dominated industry, and that's well known. But there is not a strong reason for that. I have never, in the time I've been working as a photographer, I had never felt rejected or because I was a woman ever. Yeah. If I've applied for a job or opportunities have come my way, I've never felt like a man was put before me for any reason. Yeah. So I don't think that there is a sexist approach within photography industry. Right. But I do think that because it has been dominated by men for a very long time, the standards are set to the style and the way of working they have. And a lot of women are kind of working around that, and they're not really finding themselves and their style and their point of view as a woman, which is completely different to a men's point of view. We experience life in a different way because we do. A woman doesn't live the same way that a man lives, and because of that we're going to have different points of view, different emotions, and that shows up on the work we create as well. And I think my talks were more about encouraging women to not feel self-doubt because there is no representation out there. So we don't have role models to say I want to be like that female photographer that did this, or I want to create similar work to her, or I want to inspire these kind of emotions. There is no role model to follow. So we end up getting stuck on the standards that are already set by men and end up copying almost the same style that has been set and the way the world has been represented visually through photography, through the eyes of men. And I think it's very important to break through, find our own voice, our own style, our own point of view, and use it with our photography.
I think that's really interesting. I can only think, when I was doing some research for this, for us talking today, I only knew before I started of one really famous female photographer that I could think of, which was Annie Leibovitz.
Yeah.
I really struggled. But as an entrepreneur and someone that runs her own businesses, and I do a lot of networking within the small business community, I see an awful lot of female photographers, but they're operating, I think they don't put themselves out there quite so far.
It's under the radar.
Yes.
It's exactly the same thing. So part of my talks, I did mention how at university, in my class, I think about 85% of the attendees were girls.
Right. That's interesting.
But since I graduated, I haven't worked with any women in the industry.
Wow.
Only two. So one photographer and one videographer, and the rest. Every time I've done collaborations and everything, it's always been men. So it's interesting that they are out there, but for some reason they are not pushing themselves to be known. And I have suffered from that myself. I got asked to write an article for a magazine for FujiFilm, and the magazine approached me and said, we're doing an issue that is fully created by women, so we would like you to be part of it. And when I told them, okay, I can talk, since it's a women's issue, I will talk about women in photography, and I had the same subject. So what was interesting is that the editor of the magazine said to me that they had never received a pitch from a woman to have work published on their magazine, ever.
Ooh.
On the other hand, every month they get hundreds of male photographers coming over saying, I want to publish this work on your magazine, would you be willing to include it, or can I write an article for you, or so why aren't women putting themselves out there?
It's interesting, isn't it? And do you know why? Is it lack of education in the sense of?
I think personally, so this is just my personal opinion. I think women, not only from the photography background, but we have been in the working industry for a very short time compared to men. So we are still trying to work it out and find out what are the ways of doing this and that, and and even more as entrepreneurs, because it's different when you're employed.
Yes.
Maybe, but when you're an entrepreneur, you really have to push to get yourself out there. So I think we struggle with that. Is the lack of experience, and again the lack of role models. So there's no one else there to say, you must write to magazines and do it yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you.
And if you don't, then all the men will carry on doing it.
Exactly. And eventually, I mean, it's subconscious, because I've never thought about it, but if you flick through a magazine and all you see is male names coming up on photography jobs and stuff like that, eventually, without even thinking about it, it might put you off from coming forward and saying, I'm going to present this work to this magazine. So I think it's a combination of things, but as well, there are several studies that prove that women have a higher level of self-doubt than men.
Oh, I'd agree with that.
So while we, for example, will think we're never ready or good enough to do something, men, no matter how bad they are at it, they will always think they're the best and put themselves forward. So it is very interesting. I did research for my talks and my article in the magazine, and it was very interesting to find out these details.
And I think there's also a situation as well that I think that we also suffer more from impostor syndrome as well, that if we do make it, it's kind of, those self-doubt feelings come in again, but it's kind of, whoa, why should I be taken so seriously? So it's a kind of, we undermine our own self-confidence. We undermine not only our own self-confidence, but our merit getting to places. So when you ask a woman, how did they make it to get to that point, they will say I was lucky, or I had help from this person or that person, or I met this other person. But if you ask the men, they always say, well, I'm the best one, so that's why I'm here. I think that's very true. So if you were tasked to increase the profile of female photographers, what steps would you take? I think it is very important to encourage from a very young age anyone that wants to pursue photography as a career to put themselves up there, to contact people. I mean, there's a story that I tell everyone as well is in two occasions. One of them is, for example, right now I'm working with Airbnb, and
and I contacted them in 2014 when I graduated from university. So I was looking for jobs and things that I wanted to do, and I saw that they were looking for photographers in London. So I sent my application, and I never heard back from them.
Yeah.
And in, I think it was September last year, I got an email from Airbnb saying, we've come across your portfolio that you sent to us 4 years ago. And we would like you to work with us. And I think it's very important to not take a silence or any answer saying we are not ready to work with you yet or something like that as a no. It doesn't mean anything. That's one of the things, and I'm currently working with them in a new project that they're running, shooting interiors. But then also I started shooting events for a design company called the NAD in London, and I met a lot of art directors and people that were in the art industry, and there was one specific person that I really wanted to work with. He was an art director, so I sent him a private message, an email. I think I got the contact details to the people I used to work with in the NAD, and I sent him an email saying that I would love to work for them, even if they had a main photographer already, but to come in and be able to assist or just watch how they do the whole process to come up with the final image for something. And I had a very sweet reply from him saying that he loved my work, and if he had something coming up, he would let me know. This was, I think, around 2015 probably as well, and only a few months ago I got an email back from him.
Oh wow!
Saying he's starting a new agency and he would like to have my work presented on the agency and working with me. So again, it's 3 years later. So that is the reason why we need to put ourselves out there. If there's someone you really want to work with, then you need to send an email, you need to ring and get yourself out there.
Yeah, and that is quite difficult for women to do. We're not natural salespeople, and we have that fear of rejection as well, don't we? From that point of view. And so yes, and it's about not taking it personally as well, because as you quite rightly said in those two examples, it might not be the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are there sort of groups and forums for female photographers online at all?
There is a website which is called Women in Photography, in fact. I have a mixed feeling about that as well, because I think by creating specific female photography platforms, we are alienated ourselves from the business. And I think it's very important to find yourself and your style as a woman, but at the same time include male photographers in your business as well, because that's the way of making your work the richest it could be. So I am not part of any of those myself, but I think that maybe if you're starting up is a good way of finding inspiration through other female photographers and their work.
So you mentioned it, and it's something I've been thinking about again while I'm preparing for this interview. Is it too simplistic to ask whether men and women see things differently through the camera?
I don't think it is. I mean, it's very specific to say we see things differently through the camera, but like I was saying earlier, there are studies that prove that we do live life differently. Our experiences are completely different just by the fact that we are women and men. So because of that, we're going to have a different point of view, definitely. So we do capture things differently. And like I was saying before, I think the reason why a lot of female photographers do capture things how other men capture them is because we have been exposed to that and those standards for a very long time. So we just kind of subconsciously think this is the way of doing it. And is it, I don't know what the facts and figures are on this, but in terms of lecturers at universities and colleges, is there more male than female? Yes, more male than female. I only had one female lecturer, and I think it was other 4 male lecturers.
Okay. And how's your role as a Fuji brand ambassador helped you to develop personally?
Well, incredibly, and it's very interesting because again, it's having the support of a big brand behind you makes you think, right, maybe I'm doing something well, you know. So if anything, when I was named a FujiFilm ambassador, the first thing I did was going on the website and checking who was there and what kind of work they did and comparing myself to them. So I saw that I was the 5th female ex-photographer, and there were 20 male ex-photographers.
Right.
And I started to check the work as well. And there was another lady that had a very similar style to me, but she was shooting couples and weddings and things like that. So although the style, the visuals were similar in a way, the subjects were completely different. But the rest was completely different, nothing to do with my style. So it made me very proud, not because they picked me and I have a different style, but to see that they are opening their eyes to other possibilities and other styles, and not getting stuck on the standards that have been set. That's the one thing. But then again, being different to many other photographers that are out there, is very nice to have the recognition of a brand like Fujifilm.
Yes.
And it feels you confident to then do other things and maybe approach bigger people or bigger jobs or so it's nice to have the support, but it's just it's psychological, because I could have done everything I'm doing without them, but because I have them, I feel more confident to do it.
It's an endorsement, isn't it? Yeah, from that point. It's a recognition of what you've done. So for anyone that might be thinking about becoming a brand ambassador for Fuji, or I'm presuming that most camera brands have brand ambassadors.
Yes. With Fujifilm, for me, it started with a very early relationship where I build trust and a good work ethic with them. Yeah. And then in order for them to offer you to be a brand ambassador, you have to be a Fujifilm shooter already. So they wouldn't come to you saying, well, we'll provide you with cameras if you represent us. So I started working with them when I bought my first Fujifilm camera. And it took, I think, about 3 years until I got rid of all my other kit, and I made the complete switch into Fujifilm. And it was all funded by me. They never gave me anything. So once this happened, it was when I got the offer from them to be an ex-photographer. I don't know if other brands work that way as well or not. But I think if anyone is looking to be a brand ambassador, it's very, very important to be happy with the brand before you actually consider working with them. So for me, Fujifilm cameras were of the best quality. It suited my needs as well, because they're very light and compact, and I travel a lot and I suffer from neck and back pain, so having the light kit was very important for me. And it was the main reason why I decided to initially kind of try Fujifilm. But then I just fell in love with the brand. I fell in love with the brand, with their kit, and then when I started working with them, it just became like my family even. So I know the team so well, and we have such a good relationship that it just had to happen. So I think that's the way for anyone to become a brand ambassador. You have to really believe in the ethics and morals of the brand and what they represent, and then you'll be able to approach them and express how much you love what they're doing, and they might offer you to work with them initially.
Oh wow. So what does being a Fuji brand ambassador mean for you? What does it do for you?
It gives me the sources to reach a lot of other people, not only in a way of like finding clients, which it does as well, but I think the main thing for me is reaching other photographers that are starting up, like I was saying. So they gave me the opportunity to talk in front of hundreds of people in the photography show and be able to talk about how women are impacted in the photography industry as entrepreneurs. That was amazing. And then the warmth of everyone afterwards coming over to me and talking and saying, thank you for talking about this. I wouldn't have been able to do that without Fujifilm, because obviously in the photography show you kind of need to have a sponsor that brings you over to do the talks.
Of course.
So that is one of the things that is given me that I'm very happy about. Good.
Well, that's excellent. So what are you working on at the moment?
Well, I have in mind it's still in very raw stages, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I presented Fujifilm with the idea of doing a fundraising for mental health.
Wow, I love it.
So we want to create an event where all profits are going to go towards an organization that works with mental health, and it's going to be photography focused, but we're going to have a little bit of everything, other activities, or food, healthy food that helps the mind, and we're going to have yoga and physical activities going on, and we're going to have photography workshops as well, and hopefully a few talks. I mean, like I said, it's very raw, so we're still sourcing the people that wants to collaborate and help us to make this happen. But it would be ideal as well to have talks of by people that have used photography to fight mental health problems, which there are many of them out there, and I know that it does work, so we want to put that out there and create this event.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It sounds similar to the type of event that I'm involved in this year, which is with an organisation that supports people with a life limiting disease or life-limiting condition. It's a genetic disorder, and they've decided that they have an annual family day, and they've decided this year that they are going to have an annual family day where the focus is going to be on taking photographs of people that are not in their wheelchairs, because most of the sufferers are in wheelchairs, so to see the person as a whole and not to see them as defined by their wheelchair.
That's beautiful.
Yes, it is, and I'm involved in it because I've been asked to come in as a stylist for that event, and to help them to analyse their colours, because a lot of them have carers who go out and buy them clothes, and it's to help them to look and feel fabulous from that point of view, and feel healthier and more radiant. So, I think it's an amazing concept that I hope it all comes together.
Hopefully.
I'm
Again,
sure it will.
It's one of the good things of having the backup of FujiFilm. The first thing I did was calling them and saying, I want to do this event, would you like to sponsor it? And they were straight away after it, and they said yes, that would be beautiful. So it's very nice to be able to come with them to help me organise, contact all the photographers that would like to collaborate and things like that.
Yeah, it's much more powerful, isn't it, for you? It facilitates the whole process from that point of view. So finally, what would be your advice to your 16-year-old self?
I think it's related to what we've been talking about, is don't self-doubt yourself at all. And I think that would be my advice for any 16-year-old girl out there, would be to encourage them to do what they want to do, and to say, don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not good enough. Because with passion and love, you can create anything you want. Yeah, you can, absolutely. All right. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed that interview with Chio. Thank you so much for watching. And until the next time. All right, thanks very much. And if you've got any questions for Chio, then you can put them in the comments box underneath. And thank you very much. Bye for now.